Once again, good morning, everyone. Let's start with the discussion. So first of all, let me start sharing my screen. Please let me know once the screen is visible to you all. I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So yesterday we had the introductory session of this course of Power BI, and wherein we just went through the curriculum of this course, and then on we went on to define and explain what the business intelligence exactly is, and then we went on to look at the high-level architecture of the BI process that goes on in the industries, and we looked into what the ETL means, what the data warehouse means, and the data marts, and also we looked into what actually what are the different types of BI tools that are available in the market, and we looked into Power BI, which is nothing but the stack of different components, including Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, mobile app, the servers, and obviously the report builder. Okay, and then after that we just had a view into the Power BI Desktop, and we saw that basically Power BI Desktop has three views importantly. One is table view, wherein we can view the tables. Another is the report view, where we can see the visuals. And third one is the data model view, or simply it's called as a model view, where we can actually see the data model. Okay, so, and we also looked into the ETL component of Power BI, which is nothing but Power Query Editor. We just had a look into it, and also we discussed how the workflow happens inside Power BI. Okay, so how the workflow happens inside the Power BI. Basically, it starts with connecting to data from different sources. Then we load it into Power Query Editor, where the data is transformed. And once that is done, it's brought into Power BI Desktop, and there we model the data, and based upon the requirement, we create the new calculated columns and measures, and ultimately we create the reports and visualizations, and which are hence shared in the Power BI service to share and collaborate our work with the colleagues of our organization and also the business end. Okay, so this is what we all discussed in yesterday's class, and today let's start with this first thing, that is connecting different data sources to Power BI. Okay, we'll start with the first thing. Okay, first and foremost thing. Okay, and now the first thing to be understood here is that there are different storage modes in Power BI. Okay, different storage modes in Power BI. First one, import mode. Okay, then direct query mode. Then third one is live connection, and fourth one is, it's called the composite mode or hybrid mode or dual mode. Okay, let's look into the import mode. Okay, let's look into import mode, or basically it's also characterized by an engine called as Vertipack compressor engine. Now, what Vertipack compressor engine does, it's the engine which is there in Power BI, and what it does is whenever we bring the data into the Power BI via import mode, what this does is it compresses that data to certain extent so that the memory consumed inside Power BI will not be high. Okay, so the function of Vertipack compressor engine is to compress the data to certain extent, which is brought inside Power BI through import mode. Okay, and let me tell you basically what import mode means. Okay. Now, let me close this. Now, let's say we have the data at the backend, and the backend might be, let's say, the Excel files or the CSV files, or maybe any DB, okay, like SQL Server or MySQL, Oracle DB, IBM, or Azure Synapse Data Lake, anything, okay? So in import mode, what happens is that from different sources, or maybe from one or more sources, or from a single source, the data is actually brought into Power BI. Okay, we don't establish the connection. Basically, we bring the data which is there in the backend actually into Power BI. Okay, and it is stored in the Power BI. And once it gets into Power BI, what happens? Yes.
I think
It get compressed.
compressed.
The Vertipack compressor engine,
Vertipack.
it compresses the data in Power BI. Okay, this is what happens. Okay, so let's just try having a look at the mode that we just mentioned. Okay, and in today's class, importantly, we are going to learn how to bring the data into Power BI from different sources. Okay, so for that, first, let's just open the instance of Power BI, and I hope all of you have installed Power BI in your systems, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me just open, you just need to type PBI. So Power BI desktop, we will have access to. Just open the Power BI desktop. Great. Now, once the Power BI desktop is opened, generally what we do, whenever we open any new instance, first of all, we try to bring the data from different sources. Okay, so let's try to bring the data initially from the thing like maybe a CSV file. CSV, or it's also called as a flat file. And do you know what CSV actually stands for? Yes?
Comma separated values.
Comma separated values. CSV stands for comma separated values. Okay, comma separated values. So let's try to bring a particular CSV file into this. So I'll go to get data part, and if I see is the CSV or text part is available here. Can you see text bar CSV? Okay, so I'll click on text bar CSV. Then I'll go to the folder in which I have stored that file. So basically, in my case, it is in this folder. Okay, so you see here, there's a file called as orders space CSV visible. So I'll click on that, and then I'll just simply open that file. Okay, now you see basically what's happening. It is giving the preview of the data that is present in that CSV. And that preview is based on how many rows? Can you see this? Based on
200.
first 200 rows. Okay, it can all, I mean, you can make it also based on the entire data sets. Okay, but by default, it will be based on first 200 rows. And you see here, it's mentioned that the delimiter is comma. What is the delimiter? Delimiter is basically the separator. Okay, it is a separator. Okay, and the thing is, after that, if you just want to load this without doing any ETL, you need to click on load. But if you think that this data actually needs a bit of cleaning or transformation, then you need to click on what? Transform data. Okay, the thing is that if you click on load, it will take you to Power BI desktop. But if you click on transform data, guess where it will lead you to?
Editor.
It will lead
Power-
you to Power
Power
Query
Query.
Editor. Let me show you. If you just click on transform data, it will take you to Power Query Editor like this. Okay. Whereas if you just click on load, that data will be directly loaded to where? I'll just show you. It will be directly loaded to Power BI desktop, and you can directly see its preview. Let me show you. See, it's loaded basically.
Sir, quick question.
Yeah, please.
What is delimiter?
Delimiter is a separator. Let's say, I'll just look. If let's say I write any name, okay, like maybe John Snow. Okay. Now the thing is, these two texts are separated by a thing. What is that? Space. So in this case, the space is a delimiter. Understood?
Okay. And in the
Hmm.
Power BI, why we use that delimiter there?
We use the delimiter because let me show you how the CSV file will actually look like. Okay. So if I open the order space CSV in the Excel, okay, just a second. Save this and directly try to open this. Okay. Now the thing is that even though it's giving me a correct preview of how this is, but usually what will happen, these column values, are you seeing them in the separate columns, right? Actually, they will just be separated by commas. Understanding the concept?
Okay.
So that's why they are called as comma separated values. Okay.
Okay. This is for only CSV, right?
This is only for CSV. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay. So now if you look at this, if we go to the table view, this orders.csv is actually into the Power BI. And yeah, I know that this needs further transformations. It needs some part of cleaning and all, but the thing is we'll go into that later. Right now, we are just concerned about bringing the data into Power BI desktop. So this is how we bring the data from a CSV file. Okay. Now let's move on to how to bring the data from an Excel file. Okay, I'll go back to the Home tab, and in the Home tab, I'll click on Get Data. And can you see the Excel workbook here? Visible, right? So you can either go here or you can either click here as well. Outside also, there is a small icon which says Excel workbook. Now, the thing to be known about Power BI desktop people is that to do a single thing, there are multiple ways. Usually there are multiple ways to do the same thing in Power BI desktop. Yeah, okay. So this is not just in this particular case, but in many other instances. Okay, so I'll click on this. Now you see here, I have a particular Excel file. Okay, in the same folder, I've stored this. Okay, which says sample superstore. Okay, now I'll open this. And once you do that, you will be actually given to the number of sheets that are there in that Excel. Okay. Now, you know the fact that Excel file might consist of many sheets. Agree?
Yes.
So you will be given preview to all those sheets. Now, this particular Excel file, it consists of 3 sheets. Now I'm just selecting all these 3 sheets so that I can get all those 3 sheets into Power BI desktop. Understanding?
Yeah.
Okay. And based on whether I want to load it directly or do I want further ETL to be done on this by Power Query Editor, I can click either load or transform. Okay. But since the transform part I'm going on to later, I'll for now directly just click on load so that data will be loaded into this. Okay. Fine. So this is how you bring the data from Excel file. Okay. Now let me show you some of the databases. Okay. And one thing for sure is that in order to bring the data from a database or let's say the DBM, RDBMS, like maybe SQL or MySQL, one thing that you need to make sure is that that particular server is running. I mean, if you are trying to bring the data from SQL server, the SQL server should actually be running. If you want to bring the data from MySQL Workbench, MySQL Workbench should actually be running in your system. Else, you cannot bring the data, as simple as that. Okay, now let's just check. I actually have kept them open and running. And let me check whether they are in online condition or not. Yeah, SQL is, let me just check database engine. So this is the SQL Server, which is nothing but the specific application called as SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. I'll just connect to it. Okay. Now, if you look at this, this is the server name. Is the server name visible? Okay. Now I'll connect to this server. And these things you're seeing, you're able to see this? AdventureWorks 2014, AdventureWorks 2019. Do you know what these are?
Databases.
These are the databases. Okay. Now, similarly, what I'll do, I'll try to check on the this thing that is MySQL Workbench as well. I mean, the setup is a bit different, but both are nonetheless the databases. Okay. So here we have this sales database. One thing that happens with MySQL is that even though you think MySQL is open, sometimes it will not be in the running condition. Then what you need to do, you need to just search services. Okay. And you need to click on services so that the services is open. And within services, you need to check this component. Can you see MySQL 80 here? Is it visible?
Yes.
And there you need to see whether it's in running condition or not. And if it is not in running condition, you need to right click and actually start it. Okay, because the thing about MySQL Workbench is that sometimes even if you connect to it, it shows it is not in running condition and it is stopped. Okay, and in that case, now you know what we need to do. Hope it is clear. Okay. Now, once these databases are in running condition, okay, to connect to them from Power BI, let's try to get the data. Okay, so I'll go to get data again. Okay, and now I'll click on the SQL server, which is directly available here. Okay, so I'll click on SQL server. Okay, and I basically have stored my SQL server details in OneNote application. So I'll try to bring this AdventureWorks DB database from the SQL server. And this is my basically server name. So I'll just copy paste this here, server name. And after that, I can write the database that I want to bring in here. Okay. So basically I want to bring in AdventureWorks 2019. So I'll just simply do Control-C and Control-V here. Okay. And once you do that, what will happen is if you click on OK, you will be given access to all the tables that are present in that particular DB. Can you see the preview now?
Yes.
These are all the tables and all the views that are there in the database. Which database? AdventureWorks 2019. And among all these tables, you can select the table that you want. For example, I'm just taking the sales table, sales.sales order detail. Okay. And once you click on any table, you'll be given preview to that table like this. Okay. You'll be seeing the preview to that particular table. Okay. So I'll just click on this. And if I want to bring it in Power BI now, I'll just simply click on load or maybe transform. If I click on transform, it will go to Power Query Editor. If I click on load, it will directly go to Power BI desktop. Okay. Hope this is clear. Okay. Now, there's one more thing that you can do. Okay. I hope you're familiar with the SQL queries.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now I'll show you how you can bring the data by filtering out the data in SQL query. Okay. Let me just elaborate on what I'm talking about. Okay. Now let's say I'll just first show you the actual sales table, that table, how it looks like. Okay. Now this Adventure Works, it has different tables, and the table I'm concerned about is sales order detail. I'll just right click on this and get maybe top 1,000 rows. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you look at this table, okay, there are various columns here, various fields here, visible to everyone. Okay. Now the thing is that I will filter this data so that I will get only the records where order quantity is greater than or equal to 5. Understanding the purpose?
Yes.
Okay. So let's try doing that, and we can do that, or basically we can write that query in Power BI itself. Okay. Let me show you. Okay. So if I go to get data once again, okay, and I'll go to SQL Server. And in server, I'll mention my server name. Okay. And after that, I can mention the database name, which is AdventureWorks 2019. And then what I need to do is below there's an option called as advanced option. You need to click on advanced option. And here you need to actually write that query. Okay. Now the query that I want to bring in is, it's very simple. Select star from, what is that? It's sales order detail. Okay. Where what order, what is the column name? Order quantity greater than or equal to 5. Okay. If you write this query, now let me show you what happens. If I click on OK, now can you see it is directly giving you the table which you asked for. And this is nothing but the sales order detail table. And can you see now the order quantity column? Can you see it's either 5 or greater than 5? Clear?
Yes.
So this is how, by writing the SQL queries in the Power BI itself, you can get the data that you want actually in the Power BI. I mean, only the filtered data. Hope this point is clear.
So can we do multiple table join and get that
Yeah,
final
you
data?
can do any kind of query. Okay. This is only short query that I wrote, but you can do multiple joins, and you can, I mean, you can even write n number of queries there. Okay. It can be multi-code, I mean, multi-line query is what I mean. Sub-queries, joins, everything you can include. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's try to bring in the data from MySQL server. Okay. So again, as I said, you need to make sure that the MySQL instance is running. Okay. Only then you can bring the data from there. Okay. So I'll go to get data once again. And after that, you see if the option is available here. It certainly is not. So I'll go for more. And in more, you just see at the end, there is MySQL database. You can directly click here, or you can, I mean, if it's not available here, you can also search, okay, like actually typing MySQL. Okay, so this will be available. You just click on this and go on connecting with this. And once you do that, the option is same again here. Basically, you need to write down the server name, and MySQL server name for me is, I mean, for my system is this. Okay. And yeah, I'll paste it here. And the database name, which I'm concerned with in MySQL server, is sales database. Okay. And there also, I'll just show you how the sales table exactly is first. Now, this is the sales table. Is the sales table visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sales, basically this is the transaction table, which is in the sales DB. Okay. This one. Now I'll show you, this also can be filtered by writing some simple query. But if you want, you can make a new view from combined different tables. Okay, that also you can do. But let me show you a simple query how you can write here. Again, you need to go to advanced options and you can write down the SQL statement. Like, let's say, I'll write a simple one, select star from, what is it? Sales dot transactions. Where currency is equal to INR and one more filter I'd like to apply, sales underscore amount is greater than or equal to, let's say, 30,000. So I'd like to write this SQL query and I'll click on OK. And once that happens, now can you see I'm directly fetching this table. And here, importantly, you can see the two filters that I applied. The currency is always INR evident. And also the sales amount is always greater than the 30,000, the figure which I entered there. Hope this is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So this is how you bring the data from different sources. And let me just give you the glimpse of some other databases as well. And although I don't have all the databases that are installed in my system, but I'll just show you how it looks like. Okay. Let's say if you want to connect with Oracle DB. Okay. So I'll go here, then I'll click on and search Oracle. So Oracle DB, then connect. And again, yeah, it says that it's not installed in my system, but if you want to connect, then let me just show you the options. Options will be similar. Can you see this? All you need to mention is the server name here, and you can again go to advanced options and write the query. And SQL query is having the similar syntax. So it holds good here as well. Okay. Similarly, if you want to connect to, let's say, IBM DB, again, you can click here, search for IBM. Yeah, this is what I'm concerned about. IBM DB2 database, connect. Now you can see, again, the options are very similar, isn't it? Now, in similar way, if you want to connect to some data lake, let's say, for example, Azure Synapse Data Lake. So I'll try searching Azure here. Okay. Now here you see there's Azure Synapse Analytics. This is nothing but a data lake. In Azure, there are many other options as well. There is Azure SQL. There is Azure for Postgre. Okay. And there are many Azure data lakes. The one I'm going to show you is Azure Synapse. If I click here and click on connect, again, you can see the same options. Okay. So this is the same thing across different databases, people. The way you need to do is the same thing. Okay. Any doubts till now?
So, to filter out any kind of data,
Hmm.
so we are using Power Query Editor and as well as the SQL for the queries.
Exactly. That we cannot do as well. But I'll tell you one more way. I do that in my own work. Okay. Now this is SQL Server, right? Now what I do is I write the same query here and store it as a particular view, and that view I directly get into Power BI. Understanding?
Okay, so the work is done in the server itself, SQL server.
Exactly. The work is done in SQL Server itself.
Can you please repeat?
Yes, I'll repeat it. Look here. Now, can you see this SQL query being written here.
Yes.
Okay. Now what we can do is we can write even more filters into this and store it as one particular view so that it will be stored among these tables. Are you seeing here?
Yes.
And that table I'll bring directly into Power BI. Okay.
Okay.
So that is also one of the ways. Okay. So, I mean, just to avoid more confusion within Power BI that I do, but it doesn't make much difference, but I do it nonetheless. Okay. So this is how you bring the data from different databases. And also, let me show you one more thing. Just a second. Bringing the data from website. Okay. So yeah, this is the website I'm trying to show you. Okay. And the thing is that website should be accessible. I mean, it should be openly accessible. If there are some securities applied to it, you will not be able to get the data from that particular website. Okay. So I'll go here, get data, and I'll go to web. Can you see this? Click on web. And afterwards, you just paste the URL here and click on OK. Yeah, it's taking a bit of time because it's trying to access that website. Now can you see, we have been given the access to all the tables that are present in those websites. I mean, that website. Okay. Can you see the tables? And you can basically select the table that you want to bring it into Power BI and just click on OK. Okay. And load so that those tables are here from the website. Hope this is clear. Now,
Yes.
let me show you one very important thing about the import mode. Okay. And remember, all these tables we have brought from different sources via import mode. Okay. Let me show you where it was available. I mean, where it was visible. As far as the files like CSV files or Excel files are concerned, the only way to bring those files is import mode, nothing else. Clear? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. But whenever we talk about the things like SQL Server, let me show you. The thing is, can you see there are two options available here? One is import mode. Second one is what?
Direct query.
Direct query. But presently, we have brought all the tables from SQL also by import mode itself. So first, let me talk about the import. Okay. Now, first thing first, all these tables that you're seeing here, these are actually brought into Power BI. Okay. These are actually brought into Power BI, and an engine is working in Power BI, which is called as Vertipack Compressor Engine, which is compressing these tables to certain extent within Power BI. Okay. These are actually within your PBIX file. Okay. Now, next thing, let me show you. Let's say if I go to the backend and change something, like if I go to sample superstore, and let me check from sample superstore what all I've got. I think I've got the orders table. Okay. And in orders, just let me change something. Yeah, there's orders. And look, now let's say by chance, okay, if I do some alterations here, okay, for example, if I delete this table, I mean, delete this column, okay, the discount column, if I by mistake, or basically I delete it. Okay. Then, and let's say if I save it after deleting, the thing is that here, is it deleted? Let me show you that. Where is it? Let me just go to the transform query so that you can see the complete preview. Okay. I'll go to orders. Yeah. Can you see the discount column still available here?
Yes.
It's not deleted here. Okay. Now, the thing is that when you are in import mode, whatever you do in the back end, it will not impact the front end until and unless you refresh the data. Can you see the refresh button here? Only if you click on refresh button, then actually it will bring this data once again, and then it will find that this discount column is not there, and that will be updated. Understanding the concept, people? You can see the refresh button even in the Power BI desktop as well, not just in Power Query Editor. Understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. So whatever change that you do in the back end, it will not be seen in the front end until and unless you refresh the data. Okay. So currently I don't want this column to be deleted. I'll just undo this. Okay. And I'll simply close it without saving. Okay. So the point is clear.
For
If you-
import,
Yes, please.
I mean, why we called it as an import?
Why we called it as import? Because is it not evident that we actually have imported that in Power BI? I mean, this data is now separately available in Power BI. Agree? Or
Um,
you have a bit of doubt?
Not getting still.
Okay. Now the thing is, in import mode, I mean, what is the meaning of import? You're importing something from some other location. Agree?
Yes.
Now here, the import means we have imported the data into Power BI from other sources. Those other sources might be SQL, CSV, Excel, anything. With me till now?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the simple point I'm trying to make is that if you change anything in the backend might be SQL or CSV or Excel or any other source. Okay. That will immediately not be shown in Power BI until and unless you click on the refresh button. Understanding the point?
Yes. Got it.
Okay. So this is what I mean. So in import, the data is actually in Power BI. Okay. And one more thing you need to know, whatever changes you make in Power BI with respect to those tables, I mean, if you do any transformations or ETL with respect to those tables, will the backend be impacted?
No.
The backend will never be impacted. Okay. In the backend, the tables will be as they were. Okay. Only thing that will change is the data within Power BI once you do the transformations. Hope the point is clear with everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Now, one more thing to be noted about import mode is that in import mode, you can actually see the table view. Okay. You have a report view, you have a table view, and you have model view as well. Okay. Now, let us talk about one more way of storage, which is the direct query. Okay. For that, let me open one more Power BI instance. Now here, now what I'll do, I'll try to get the data in direct query way. Okay, so I'll go to get data. I'll try to get data from SQL Server, and yes, you can use direct query only if you are connecting to some database. Okay, not Excel files or CSV files. Hope that is clear. So get data, SQL Server. Then I'll simply write my server name there. And also the database. The database is ADV 2019. And now what I'll do, instead of import mode, I'll just click on direct query mode. Okay. And in direct query also, I can write the SQL statement. That's not a problem. Okay, just to show you. And if I click on OK, again, I'll be taken to the preview of all those tables that are available for me to Power BI. Okay, so I'll get that sales order detail. The preview is visible, and I'll directly load this. Now, immediately after loading, you'll see some change. Now you have to tell me what the change that has happened here. Okay. Finding any difference? Yeah,
There is no table view.
exactly. Now see, even though the table is here, but the thing is, can you see the table view is gone? We have only two views here. One is report view, another is what? The model view, where you can see the table like this. Getting the point? So basically here, there is no table view in direct query mode. There's only report view and model view. And also there's one more thing. In direct query, what is happening? Now let me talk about direct query, okay? So in direct query, you're not actually bringing the data into Power BI, okay? I'll just write it, not importing the data into PBI. But what you are doing instead, you are just establishing the connection between backend and PBI. In this case, in our case, what is the backend now? Quickly, people.
SQL.
SQL is the backend. Okay. So now what I've done in direct query, I've just connected to SQL. I just connected Power BI to SQL. And the thing about this is that the way in which it is different in, when compared with the import mode is that inherently what will happen now, whenever I do any changes in the backend in SQL, the same will be reflected here. Are you getting the point? Because this is not separately stored in Power BI
Yes.
as it was earlier in import mode. In import mode, which came into play? Vertipack compressor came into play, which actually stored the data into Power BI by compressing it a bit. But now in direct query, there's only connection established between front end and back end. And now the thing is that if I do any changes here in this table, the same will be impacted where? Here as well. Understood? Almost immediately. You need not even click the refresh button. If you do any changes in the backend, the same will be shown here. The point is clear? Yes or no?
It is taking a time.
Come again?
Yeah, it is taking a live status of the server, right?
Exactly. It is, it is just based on the live status of the server.
Okay, if the server is stopped, then the connection will last.
Yeah.
Will-
If the server is stopped, the connection will be lost and this will not work. Okay. Clear?
And what if we can do the changes in Power Query here?
That you can do. Okay. Now let me show you that as well. If you want to change in the Power, do some changes in the Power Query, that you can obviously do. Now, can you see all the transformation options are available? Now, what will happen? The connection will be there. Okay. And with that connection, you can do some changes here. And these changes only will be in Power BI. Hope the
Will
point is
not
clear.
affect on
Again,
backend.
it will not impact the backend. Okay. It will never impact the
Okay.
backend.
Got it.
Clear? Okay.
Yes.
Now, the main thing is that the purpose.
One
we-
question here. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, please do.
Actually, yeah, after doing the transformation, right? So maybe one copy will be like available in Power BI, or again, if we stop the server and again refresh, then it will go away.
No, the thing is, let me tell you how it works. Okay. Now, let's say there are some applied steps here. Yesterday, I showed you applied steps, remember?
Yeah.
With transformations. Now, those are nothing but the automation. Okay. Whenever, I mean, it means that when it is connected to the data, before going into Power BI desktop, I'm not talking about Power BI server, I mean, not talking about the Power Query editor. Before being loaded into Power BI desktop, it will go through what? These applied steps. Understanding? So it's kind of an automation. And this will always stay in Power Query editor. Okay. These applied steps. Hope your question is
Okay,
answered.
applied steps means I think whatever
Transformation.
transformation we are doing here.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So that will remain
Yeah.
like available here, right? Okay.
This
So
will be available here. If the server connection goes off, only that connection will be gone. But once the connection is back, again, these applied steps will be there. Okay. And the data will come only after those transformations which are applied. The point is clear now?
so how it is identifying actually with respect to even after the connection is established, if we slightly change the queries or like the data columns or something like that, even after that the transformation steps that already we applied will be available.
Yes, it will be available. That will be stored as imprints in Power Query editor always. Okay. See, the data which is coming here in Power BI desktop, it is coming through Power. I mean, if it is coming only after the applied Power Query editor steps. Okay. Hope the point is clear.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now let's try to analyze why we have two separate modes of storage. Okay. Now, presently the thing is, in Power BI licensing, okay, previously in import mode, the maximum that was available that you can store in one PBX was 10 GB. Okay, previously I'm talking about. Currently in premium, if you have premium license, Power BI premium license, you can, for one file, you can store almost how much? 100 GB. Okay, so currently that's not a constraint, but previously it was a constraint. And when it was a constraint, what used to happen? You could not use the import mode beyond 10 GB. Are you understanding? If the data which you're trying to bring inside Power BI, if it crossed the 10 GB limit, then it will not support the, I mean, it did not use to support the import mode. Understanding the thing that I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So the maximum was how much? 10 GB. Okay. And 10 GB means, I mean, 10 GB is not less actually. It's very much higher. And just imagine only in 5 or 6 GB, you can bring the tables with rows, number of rows closer to almost 100 million. Or even 200 million rows. Okay. So you can just imagine how big the 10 GB data size is. Okay. But the thing is, in some of the businesses, this will cross even the 100 millions and 150 millions. Okay. And in olden days, basically, I mean, I'm just talking about before a year and a half back. Okay, so there the maximum limit was 10 GB, and yeah, you cannot cross that limit if you're trying to work on import mode. So in that case, Power BI had suggested, or basically Microsoft had suggested, to use direct query mode. And Microsoft actually still suggests, if your data size is huge, you go for direct query. The thing about direct query is that no matter how big the data size is, you actually are never bringing the data into Power BI, right? What you're doing instead, you are just establishing the connection between backend and front end. Agree? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So whatever the big size data is, it will originally stay in the backend, maybe SQL or MySQL or Oracle DB or whatever. So Microsoft, they used to suggest, basically they still suggest using direct query if your data size is huge. Okay. But the thing about direct query is that it comes with its own disadvantages. And one disadvantage is, you just quite clearly saw now. What is that? You cannot view the what?
Table.
You cannot view the table view, or you cannot see the data view in Power BI desktop. Okay, and there are few more disadvantages to it. Let me just show you what those are. Okay, so there are certain differences between import mode and direct query mode. One is, and yeah, this used to be earlier, this is not valid now, because now you can bring data almost closer to 100 GB if you have premium license. Okay, whereas in direct query, you don't have even that limitation. You can bring the data, I mean, very, very huge data. Okay, because you're ultimately just establishing the connection. Okay, then one thing which is there in import mode is that you can bring the data from different unlimited sources. But here, the data should come from one single source. Okay, data should come from one single source, not many sources. If you're bringing from SQL Server, it should only be from SQL Server. Okay, like that. The next thing, the performance is greater in import mode compared to direct mode. Performance is always better in import mode compared to direct query mode. Do you know why?
Depends on connectivity, I guess.
Now look, the thing here is that in import mode, always the data is within Power BI, right? So it is always readily available for us, readily accessible for us. But what happens in direct query mode is that, let's say if I do a visualization, in that visualization, I'm actually not bringing the data from here, but actually the data is coming from where? Yes?
Backend.
The data is always coming from the backend. Okay, so we can say that the visualization is always visible on the runtime. Okay, so if, I mean, the SQL Server is slow, then your visuals will not work. Okay, and almost always I've seen that whenever I use the direct query instead of using import mode to develop a certain dashboard, the amount of time the visuals will take to load in a page is very much higher compared to when I use the import mode. Understanding? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is the important difference. And the main difference is that this difference, the data change in the underlying data, how does that impact these two modes? Now I told you that whatever you do in the backend in import mode, immediately it will not be impacted. When will it be impacted in import mode? Only if you, what?
Refresh. But
Only if you refresh the data. Okay, whereas when you are in direct query mode, the changes that are made in the underlying data will be directly evident in the front end. Okay, it will be evident. Okay, and there's few more important things. One is that The import mode supports all transformations. Now, what is meant by transformations? All the options that are there in Power Query Editor that will directly be implemented without any problem in import mode. Whereas in direct query mode, some of the transformations will not be supported. Understanding? And this is a big disadvantage. And even more big, even a bigger disadvantage is this. The thing is, import mode supports all the DAX functions and all the calculated tables. Okay, calculated tables and calculated columns as well. Whereas in direct query mode, you cannot use some of the DAX functions. Okay, and hence your ability in terms of customizing your report, it becomes kind of limited. Okay, and due to these things, basically we usually, generally, we end up using always which mode? Import mode itself. Getting the point?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we'll talk about live query and this one more mode in next class. But as far as these two things are concerned and connecting to data from different sources is concerned, I think I have been very elaborate. And please do ask any doubts if you have any.
So most probably in the businesses or in the projects, they are using import mode only.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We are most, almost 90% of the time, we'll be using this. Only in some rare occasions, they'll be using direct query. Okay. And now let me also talk a bit about the assignment that I'm going to give you for today. And you work over that on the weekend and please do complete. And yeah, one very important thing I'd like to tell you. I hope I have 2 minutes.
No problem.
Yeah, okay. Now the thing about this course is that even though in class, you might think that you understand everything, okay? But the thing about Power BI or any BI tool for that instance is that there are so many options. And if you don't practice it, and if you start suddenly using it on some particular day, you will kind of feel overwhelmed. Okay, so the thing about this is that you always need to feel accustomed to all this layout. And only way that can happen is if you practice regularly. Okay, so my request to you people is that always make sure that you watch the recorded session once again when you're free. And after that, please always do the assignment on that particular day. Complete it on that particular day so that you will not just understand, but going forward, you also will feel confident about working on Power BI yourself. And this, I cannot stress on this part. This is very, very, very important. Hope the point is clear.
Yeah.
Else you will always lag behind and you will keep, the work for some other day, and you will go on procrastinating, which is not good, people. Okay, so try to learn the things quickly, and the way to do that is always going through the recorded session once again, and try doing the assignments on that particular day itself. Okay, so today's part, I'll just show you what you need to do. First of all, you need to install, download and install Power BI Desktop if you don't have it installed already in your system. Then afterwards, you install SQL Server and MySQL Server, MySQL in your systems. I hope they are there as well. And I'm insisting on these two because these two are open sources. Okay, freely available softwares. Okay, and installing this is also not a big deal. Just Google it how to install. You install SQL Server and MySQL as well. And once that is done, you go to, you Google AdventureWorks 2014 or even 2019 and get that imported in your servers. Which server? SQL Server or MySQL Server. With me till now?
What is this AdventureWorks 2014?
Come again?
What this thing is clear, my SQL Workbench, but I'm not getting this Adventure Works 2000.
It is a database.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
It's a database which you need to download from, it's the database which is supplied by Microsoft themselves. Okay. So you need to download and install this database within your SQL Server as well as in your MySQL Workbench. Okay.
Okay.
And also I'm attaching the Superstore Excel data as an attachment. Okay. Try importing that also in your Power BI. And I showed you how to get the data from Excel sheet as well. Okay. And then afterwards, you can import the data from these sources into Power BI. Okay. And you can also try writing the custom queries. Okay. See, as simple as this seems, but only once you actually go through these steps, maybe you will get stuck in one or another step. And if that happens, please do write your queries in the group. I'll always be happy to answer your doubts. Hope the point is clear.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, one more thing I wanted to show. Do I have 2 minutes? If
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the thing is, have you worked on something like Power Pivot or Power View in Excel?
No. I
See,
haven't worked.
there is a way in which Excel tool also can be used to create the visualizations. Are you trying to imagine what I'm trying to say? Just like Power BI, the visuals, the graphs, the bar graphs, the line charts also can be created in Excel. Okay. And let's say you have that already in Excel. And if you want to bring that readily into Power BI, even that can be done. Okay. Let me show you how that happens. Okay. For that, again, let me just open a new instance. Okay. I'll not save any of this. I'll just open a new PBI instance. Now look, I'll just try to show you how it looks like. I have a file called as IT spend analysis sample. Now this file is actually developed in Excel itself. And they have made kind of a visualizations in this. Okay. Although the visualizations are not visible here, it says I don't have the Power View installed in my system. Okay. But just a second. I'm not sure if I'll be able to view this. Okay. But nonetheless, I'll show you how to view these graphs and sheets in Power BI if you already have done certain analysis in Excel. Okay. Now that the Power BI is open, and let me just close this. You need to go to File, okay, and then you need to go to Import. Okay, and in Import, can you see Power Query or Power Pivot or Power View? If you click on this option, you can bring that kind of file. Now I'll try to bring this IT spend analysis sample, which I stored. And yeah, it'll ask you import the Excel workbook contents. I'll say yes, start. And now you see, it not just brings in the data, but also it brings in the visuals that were created in Excel. Let me show you. Now you see the migration has been completed, it says. And now you can actually see, I'll just close this. Now, can you see the visuals here? Some of the visuals will not be visible because some of them will not be supported in Power BI. Those you can't help, you have to create them once again. But can you see these bar graphs, which are visible right now?
Yes.
Yes. So basically what we have done, and you can also see the tables, okay? Tables and the data model, basically the way in which the tables are connected, quite clearly visible. They have followed a star schema here. I'll talk about the schemas later. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have some analysis or report which is already done in Excel, that can be directly imported into Power BI. Okay, you need not create the report from the start in Power BI if that's the case. Okay. I just wanted to show you because in some of the business requirements, this might be the case. And if you know this, basically half of your job is done. Okay. Any doubts within this?
Can you repeat how this was been come to Power BI? It was from get data.
Not get data, file, import, this thing. Can you see this? Power Query, Power Pivot, or Power View, and you just need to point to that particular file. Okay, this one. Clear?
Okay.
Fine then. With this note, I'd like to close today's session. Any more doubts, people?
No.
Fine then. Let's stop it here. And yeah, please do the assignment.
Yeah, I have one question. Sorry. So
Huh.
regarding the Power BI installation, so
Mhm.
I couldn't sign in. So I tried in the Microsoft Store, but I
Mm.
couldn't install it through the store. But using the link directly, and I downloaded and Power BI
Installed.
installed, but I couldn't sign in. It is saying what
Now-
email is needed.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'll talk about that. I mean, do you have some company email or school email or college email?
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
talking about the email with domain. Okay, if you have that, only then you can sign in. But if you don't have, if you just have a Gmail, you cannot sign in with the Gmail. Okay, that's the point.
So can we use the company email ID? So
You can use to sign in. Okay.
okay.
Hmm. But yeah, you just try reminding your HR about that you're just using the company email to sign in. I mean, it will not cost the thing. I mean, you cannot purchase anything there.
Okay.
You just you're trying to use it for the trial usage of the software. That should not be a problem. Okay. Any more doubts, people? Fine, then let me close this session, and again we'll meet on Monday. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.